Okay, so today we are going to be discussing for 2019. Oops, where's my red pen? 2019 May paper 42. Okay, so these are the question paper that we are going to discuss. So let us start with question number 1. Okay, so so when the apple are cut and the surface turn white to brown, so probably if you cut the apple usually turns white to brown. Probably this happened because due to the pressure of oxygen and due to the oxidation that is happening for the apple. Correct or not? Whatever fruit, when you open it, there is oxidation. So you might want to really eat it fast, either apple or orange, because if it turn to brown, then it become other thing. Eventually, you lose all the vitamin and minerals in the apple, and then until it is rotten, then you cannot eat. There's totally not much of nutrient in the apple. So dish A is untreated, and this box actually represent. Okay, so he cut the apple cut the apple and put in the dish. I thought this whole round thing is an apple. Probably you want to cut it in the cube so that the reaction is faster. You no need to wait half an hour. Maybe by just 10, 20, 15 minutes, you can see the effect since there's a large surface area. Since you cut the apple into cube, and it will react with the oxygen in the air faster due to large surface area. Then dish B, you soak in the lemon juice for 5 minutes. And this one previously placed in the boiling water for 20 seconds. So let's see what happened. Appearance of apple in after 10 minutes. So it's brown, unchanged. So untreated, then it will become brown because the enzyme react with the oxygen in the air. Correct? Okay, unchanged, there's nothing to change here because there's acid. Okay, since there's acid and the acid change the structure of the enzyme. And for C, there's nothing much happening also because the enzyme is denatured at high temperature. Okay, the keyword is denature. Okay, so is denature. So the keyword for the answer is denature. So it's always not good to boil the apple because like some of my actually last time my mother always boil the apple, and then I'm saying you say it's Chinese medicine. I say, what are you doing there? Because you are destroying the vitamin. But she say, no, this is a traditional medicine, something like that. But I don't believe it lah, because the reason is since you boil it, then the apple already lose in nutrient. Then my mom said, no, the nutrient is still in the water. No, the nutrient is not in the water. It's gone already. It's disappeared. Complete table 1, so you get 2 marks for this one. Explain how denaturant affect the enzyme molecule. So the first keyword is we want to say that the active site is damaged. Okay, so I will say active site is damaged. Okay, that's the first thing you want to say. And the second thing is the substrate no longer fit into the active site. Correct or not? So I just put here the substrate no longer fit into active site. So that's the keyword requirement from the exam paper. So the student didn't get any mark.
Does not bind with a substrate cannot
Does not bind with a substrate. Just put wrong lah, never mind lah. I don't know. Sometimes I don't know. Just assume it's wrong lah, because sometimes I also get give correct lah. So I just leave it be lah. Sometimes like this B, hydrochloric acid is another acid that used to stop apple from turning brown. Yeah, because it is acidic hydrochloric acid depending on the pH level, because we got dilute hydrochloric acid and we also have the concentrated hydrochloric acid. So see which part of acid that we are referring to. Okay, so C, hydrochloric acid is another acid that used to stop apple from turning brown. Yeah, because it is acidic hydrochloric acid depending on the pH level, because we got dilute hydrochloric acid and we also have the concentrated hydrochloric acid. So see what which part of acid that we are referring to. State 2 function of hydrochloric acid in a gastric juice. Gastric juice. Okay, so the first one is for optimum pH for enzyme activity. You don't need to write pepsin, but it's still correct because the answer scheme is enzyme activity. Denaturing enzyme in harmful. Actually, for this one, the function of hydrochloric acid is to kill microorganism. But here say denaturing enzyme, but I still give correct because I see that the student say harmful microorganism. Probably what the student trying to say is to kill the harmful microorganism. So I just put BOD benefit. I still give the student correct due to the word harmful microorganism that is written by the student. You do this to kill bacteria. Just follow the marking scheme because just follow Maybe I think this one is correct, but we just answer to what is required in the marking scheme. Suggest why is it dangerous to use hydrochloric to stop apple from turning brown before it beyond pH 2 acidic? Because hydrochloric can damage mouth, okay, or can damage the body, okay. So because hydrochloric acid can damage mouth, or it could be a strong acid, it could be a strong acid. So that is you don't want to eat hydrochloric acid. Apple contains starch, so this is the glucose molecule. So a complex glucose molecule is called starch. Another complex molecule for starch by using glucose is glycogen. So only one answer is acceptable, be glycogen, because glucose only can be divided. If we are talking about complex molecule, usually we are referring to, when we are talking about glucose, we are referring to, for plant, we are talking about starch, and for human and animal, we are talking about glycogen. It's something like oil that is in your body or in your heart. So the answer will be glycogen. Of course, carbohydrate also, it will be break down to glucose, but when we are talking about complex molecule from glucose, we are referring to starch or glycogen, usually Name the smaller molecule that is protein. So this amino acid, and
No, I mean like if it's amino acid, shouldn't they write name the smallest molecule?
no, the reason is polypeptide and protein is the same category, so there's no point in putting polypeptide. Polypeptide is protein is polypeptide. Amino acid is I think it's peptide. Amino acid is called as peptide. If you want, you write peptide, then it makes more sense. Peptide, okay, that's spelled correctly, pep. But certain people do like this so people usually just put amino acid. So polypeptide and protein is the same. So name the smaller molecule in protein. So name what is in the molecule is the polypeptide, which is the protein. So it doesn't make sense. So I think this one is for combined coordinated science of biology. The word polypeptide is seldom occur in combined science. So just maybe you can forget this word. So far I read so many exam paper. There is not even one question that asks about polypeptide. Maybe it's only for coordinated science of biology, but it's very good But polypeptide, the simple form, polypeptide is the chain of peptide, a chain of amino acid. So it's the same thing. I hope that you understand. So the element present in protein is very straightforward. Carbon, oxygen, hydrogen, nitrogen. If I'm going to take away the nitrogen, it will be carbohydrate. But if I add nitrogen, it will be the protein. So it's a very straightforward question. Catalyst is to break down large saturated hydrocarbon into smaller hydrocarbons molecule. The process produce some unsaturated hydrocarbon. What is meant by hydrocarbon compound that contain carbon or hydrogen? Okay, this is very straightforward question. And let's look at this. This is catalytic, catalytic cracking. One reaction apart from catalyst used for this reaction. So what is the catalytic doing is they are taking the saturated hydrocarbon and mixture of saturated and unsaturated hydrocarbon. Another condition is high temperature or high pressure. Okay, so either one. Okay, high pressure. Cracking is an endemic process. Define what do you mean by endemic. So if you say the reaction absorbs thermal energy, you get 1 mark. And if you say that it's talking about energy is changed into chemical energy. Okay, energy is changed into chemical energy, you get 1 mark. So because the student got right chemical energy, so I just put 1 mark lah, so you get 2 mark for this question. Describe how aqueous bromine is used to promise the cracking of say unsaturated hydrocarbon from saturation. So basically he's talking about how bromine is to test saturated or unsaturated, because if you still remember how to test oxygen, maybe you use lighted splinter, hydrogen, you get burning wooden splinter, and then to whatever gas you want to test lah, maybe carbon dioxide, use lime water. But for saturated and unsaturated, one of the way is we use bromine. So if you add bromine into the hydrocarbon, it will change from orange straight to transparent, so you get 1 mark. The color will decolorize. Actually the marking scheme also got mention one more thing lah. If it is unsaturated, it will become decolorized, and then if it is saturated, then there will be nothing is happening. Okay, no change. Okay, so that is another answer lah, means if unsaturated what happened, if saturated then what happened. But I still give full mark lah, because I believe that the student really answer well, though he didn't mention of another side, but I feel the student know lah, so I just give 2 mark. One of the product is cracking here, C3H6. So you draw this diagram. Either you want to put a double bond at the end or you want to put at the front, it is still correct. Okay, though it's still the same thing lah. Unless it's a longer chain, then it could be it will cause a different name, but that's for chemistry. It won't be coming out for combined science. Construct a balance. So this is the correct. Construct a balanced equation for the combustion. So C3H6, very simple. I plus oxygen, I get carbon dioxide and water. So this is, then I balance it. You balance the last thing that you want to do while doing balance is oxygen, because it's only contain single element. So where is my highlighter? Okay, so it only contains a single element. So that's the last thing that you want to balance, which I think the student did a good job. I think the student just start from drawing here 3, then the oxygen you want to balance back, then it will be 4.5, so the student write 9/2. But the marking scheme is what happened is usually in chemistry also lah, in chemistry and combined science or coordinated science, it is better to write the answer in a whole number. For example, like mathematical equation here is 2, I just times everything with 2. So 2C3H6 plus 9O2 plus 3 times 2 is 6. 6CO2 plus 2 times 3 is 6H2O. So this is actually the answer in the marking scheme. And yeah, this is the answer in the marking scheme, but it's still correct because I cannot say the student wrong. It depends on book. I remember I got read some book, and it is still using this fraction to balance the equation, so it's supposed to be correct lah, but usually most book will balance the equation. Up to you lah. I think they will still give correct, but the marking scheme is this one but I'm very sure that this is also correct. Number 3 is show the forklift truck moving a large heavy load. So what is this? This maybe it's a friction. R will be the friction or drag. P will be the thrust. S will be the gravity. And Q will be the... Is there any Q here? I cannot see any Q here. Thrust. I cannot see any Q here. Okay. Yeah, usually if up means if the question do lah like balloon, if the picture is the balloon, usually we label it as up thrust, but this is not a balloon or plane lah, so it don't really matter. Up thrust, usually R will be the friction, S will be the gravity, P will be the force, okay, the thrust or the force. So of course, what's the question? Show the force acting on the forklift. So represent the driving force of the truck. So the truck is driving in front, so the force is P. So you get correct. The forklift, blah 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 blah, 3 meter on the ground. Calculate the energy, mgh, the formula, mass time gravity time height. Do the equation, and then you get marks 15,000 joule. But the marking scheme, they just write it in the full sentence now. Work done equals to mass time gravity time height. But I think it's still correct lah. mgh also means the whole thing, but up to you lah. Up to you lah. If you got time, you do lah. I think it is still correct lah. I think it's still correct. Because your 3 marks, so your formula will be 1 mark. But to be in the safer side lah, you might want to write the word. Okay, the forklift truck is driven to collect another box, blah blah blah. Describe the motion between 50 to 60. The student get 1 mark for slowly deceleration, and according to the marking scheme, another mark will be not a constant deceleration, or you can say deceleration changing. Up to you lah. As long as you say something that it is not constant or it always change the deceleration, you up to, because it means the student understand it. Okay, so the student only get 1 mark for the first answer that he or she given. The truck travel at 40 meter. So this is 2 mark question. We are not going to details, but we know that the distance equals to area under graph. So the student just use the area under graph times this whole thing lah, times the time, because the time is even given, which is 10 seconds. So you do, you should get 240 meter. The mass of the fork is 1.5 kg. Okay, 1,500 kg. Calculate the kinetic energy. So the formula is half mv power of 2. If you want to write mass times velocity. The answer scheme also just put half mv power 2. The answer scheme didn't put the word. That's why I say no need put the word, also it doesn't really matter. Half mv power of 2, blah blah blah. You get the answer 18750, and you got 2 marks for this one. Next question, number 4. Name the process of X. X is burning. Is this question. Name process Y. Green plant become deposited, either it's by death or excretion. So the student didn't get any mark. Explain the effect of clearing the forest. The student only get 1 mark. It increased the concentration of carbon dioxide. And I got read the whole answer, but it's very good. It leads to global warming, will increase the but and one more answer that contain 1 mark is fewer tree for carbon, fewer tree to undergo photosynthesis. Okay, fewer tree that will to undergo photosynthesis, so there will be less photosynthesis. This 1 mark. Why? Because we need to read the question. Because the question didn't ask what are the effect of carbon dioxide. Then you get 2 or 3 marks for this question. The effect is it leads to global warming, and then it leads to flood. But the question asks, explain the effect of clearing the forest on the concentration. So basically we just want to explain about the concentration. So first we say the concentration is getting higher because there's less tree, and less tree will be less photosynthesis. Less photosynthesis means less oxygen we produce. So that is how we want to explain about the concentration of carbon dioxide and with the clearing of forests. You see or not? So that is we need to read the question carefully. So the student only get 1 mark for the question. B. Nitrite ion can be added to water in lake accidentally. This effect can lead to the death. So probably nitrate ion, I think they are talking about fertilizer. Fertilizer usually, because fertilizer use ammonia. Ammonia is made from nitrate, so probably during the rain, when you put fertilizer in the plant and the rain will will wash it to a lake. That's why we say accidentally, and a lot of nitrite ion will be in the lake, and fertilizer produce algal bloom, a lot of fish will die, it will poison the lake and so on. So the result increase the ability of nitrate ion, it increase the growth of the producer of the lake, correct? This lead to the increase of decomposition of the death of producer. Okay, increase the death of producer. So when the depth increase on producer, the aerobic respiration by decomposition with users, which result in a reduction of dissolved oxygen. Yes, because at first you got a lot of nitrate, a lot of the plant will grow, and then it will die very fast. Okay, the plant will die and decompose, and when it decompose, it will increase the respiration that occur in the lake, that causing lack of oxygen in the water. Due to the decomposer will use oxygen, though the bacteria or what, when they decompose, they are still need oxygen. Unless if there's no oxygen, then you cannot decompose in let's say a crop, correct or not? If I throw a crop into space where there's no oxygen, it will still decompose, but it will take a longer time as I compare I put on earth, because on earth there is air, there's oxygen, there's water, so it's easier. But if a person die in space also, it will decompose, but it will take a lot of a longer time to decompose. So you get 3 marks for this one. Okay, table 5.1 show the melting point of some group in element 1, suggest the melting point of potassium, so it be 50, correct? Okay, the marking scheme is 50 to 70. I mean, you divide 2 lah, you divide by 2, you don't write 97 lah, you don't write 40, it just doesn't make sense. It's just somewhere in between. Okay, so 50 is correct. Compare the reactivity of rubidium. Rubidium more reactive, it's very obvious. As it go down, it's more reactive. We still remember the experiment, and calcium we can use it to make bomb, and francium, one more, is it francium? So if you can go to YouTube, you can see how rubidium, calcium and francium be used as bomb. So you cannot get this even in Shopee or Lazada. Name the where was I? This one. Name the gas produced when potassium. It produces hydrogen gas. Okay, so this is very straightforward question. Calcium is stored into a sealed glass. So how they store this? Because it's highly reactive with oxygen. Once you just take it out, it will explode. So what they do is they usually will take a test tube and they will burn the front, and it will melt. So the glass will melt. So this glass, actually there are no way you can open the glass tube. There's no way open. The only way to open is you need to break the front part, and then you maybe can pull the calcium out. So it's a very dangerous thing. Like when people are holding this, they actually use the glove. We don't want something to explode and your hand disappear. Not only they don't use gloves, sometimes they use the glove and they take something to get the thing to just take the thing rather than use your hand, because it's highly explosive, and it explode, then your hand also will disappear. Even though just 2 grams, your hand will disappear. 2 or 3 grams, your hand will disappear. So calcium will melt in the warm hand is placed around a sealed glass. Explain in terms of particle, so the student will get 1 mark. Okay, to anything any answer here you mentioned OTTWE means that any answer any answer relate to the to this question. Just let me find for a while. So when you talk about intermolecular force, forces between particle and so on, but I think it can be improved by kinetic energy. Okay, because the kinetic energy increase, so that it will break the intermolecular force between. I just But this also is correct. I suppose it can be improved by adding kinetic energy, because the question asks why ma, but because there is an increase of kinetic energy. Okay, chlorine gas in group VII. This is group 6, is it? Group 6. Group 7, VII 7. Potassium react with chlorine to form potassium chloride. Okay, potassium with chlorine to form potassium chloride. You get 2 mark. You may draw the diagram. So he asks you to do the formation. So because potassium actually loses 1 electron, you get 1 mark. And to balance it, and then chlorine actually gain 1 electron. Of course, the student say take lah. The answer seems to say gain, but it's still correct. Okay, so I just give 2 mark for this one. Draw it, correct, you get 1 mark. Explain how ionic bond keep potassium ion chloride together. Opposite charges attract. Okay, so this will be the answer. Opposite charges attract. The sun is made out of very hot gas. So in the sun, there are only 2 gas. So usually it will be hydrogen. So where's my pen? Usually it's hydrogen. And you know that hydrogen is actually contained of 1 proton number. But the gravity of the sun is so strong that he fused the 2 hydrogen together to make helium. Helium, because you know that helium is 2 what lah, 2, the number proton number is 2. And depend on the sun, and if you use 2 helium, it will mix it and become 2 helium become. So of course, due to the gravity of the sun, from 2 hydrogen will become helium. Whereas helium is number 2, which is at here, and then 2 it will become 4, 4 then it will become 8, and then become 6. I don't know lah, but I remember that I don't know how that plus, due to the gravity of the sun, it will just collect it and it will become like carbon. I think if until it become carbon, that is to the extent that the sun is going to become like going to die or becoming the black hole already. Because can you imagine the gravity that can combine even the element, and to a certain extent when it reach carbon or what, I think that is the sun size will be able to make a black hole. Of course our sun cannot, because our sun still small compared to other sun. So when we are talking about the sun, this is the very very hot sun, and there is a convection that is happening in the sun. In the sun there's a lot of things that's happening. There is certain fire, there's a black spot, and there is a solar wind that due to the explosion, when due to explosion there is electron being released, and the plasma that is being released from the sun. Plasma means like when there is nuclear bomb, so there is like zoom, you see in the movie. Okay, there's a plasma that is coming up from the explosion, and from due to the sun, every day is exploding. So it got a lot of things that we call it solar wind, and because the prominence, we got the sunspot that will produce different heat. So this will actually, when it reach the earth, it will influence the earth weather. It will influence in terms of radio, your internet connection, and aurora. All this is related to the sun. La Nina, El Nino, the flood, or maybe the drought that caused by the sun due to sunspot, and the what is this called the fire, prominence. Okay, prominence. So it depends. And in the sun also, we can see that there is since it's a liquid, probably it will be and nobody ever stand in the sun, but they assume that it is liquid. I also think it's liquid lah, but the reason I also think that it could be like solid, because the gravity will be, I don't know, 100 times from the earth. So let's say if you are 10 kg, when you times 100, it become 1 ton on the earth, on the sun when you are standing, and the bone will just break. So it will be quite like solid also, because the gravity is very very strong, and it will be very very dense liquid, like standing on the thermometer, on a mercury, something like that, or even something like liquid but denser than mercury. So due to the convection of the sun, one thing is the inside will be more hot. So the more hot part it will move up, then this thing will move down. So it will be something like this. Move up, move down, move up, move down. Okay, so there is a convection happening in the sun, also on the earth, because if this is the earth, there is also a hot spot in the earth, correct or not? Then eventually there's a convection happening on earth, because earth, earth, the center of core of the earth is very hot, and due to convection, the soil will move, hot will move up and cold will move down. So it will be something like this. Then eventually after some time it will cause earthquake, because you are moving the, I don't know how it moves, but maybe it moves slowly for the earth, because we are standing on the sand, so we feel it doesn't move, but the below our earth, it is still moving every day by little bit. Then someday there will be earthquake. So how, when we talk about describe how convection is happening on the sun, there's a few keyword. One of the few keyword is we want to talk about density, because when we talk about convection, we must talk about density. So we want to say that density and which rise and fall, right or not? We want to talk about these two things when we talk about convection. Whatever lah, it could be, the question could be asked about teapot, can be asking about wind, or your house ventilation, or aircon. Why you want to put the aircon on top? Because of convection. When you put aircon on top, it's not because your floor got no space, because if you put on top, then the below cold air, usually cold air will go down, and if you go up higher, it will be hot air. Okay, so that is why you want to put the aircon on top of your house rather than you want to put on the floor. If you put on the floor, then only the floor will be cold. When you stand up, you feel that your leg is cold but your body is hot, so it doesn't really make anything. So the keyword will be density and rise and fall. So when the thing is, let's say hot, if you want to talk about hot air will rises and cold air will fall down. So anything any sentence that you want to put, as long as you talk about if the density and you're talking about rise and fall. Hot air rises, so hot air is less dense, something like that but though it's liquid but the marking still say it is a gas, but that's not the point but the thing is like that Hot air will rises because hot air is less dense. Cold air will sink because cold air is more cold. That's why we say hot air balloon. What the study they know is, because if you cannot remember, just remember hot air balloon. In order to make the balloon float, what you need to do is you just need to burn the air in the balloon. So when you burn the air in the balloon, when hot, what is happen? It will expand. So the air will expand, like hot air balloon. The air expand, but when the air expand, you know that the density is getting lesser, because when you expand the volume but the mass still the same, it means the density is lower. So when the density is very low, it will create upthrust, so that the balloon, hot air balloon, can rise up. But you cannot rise up because it doesn't produce enough upthrust. Let's say the balloon doesn't rise up because the person is too fat. It don't produce upthrust enough to overcome the force of weight that the person is standing. So what you need to do is you need to build a very, very, very big balloon, so that the upthrust force will overcome the weight of the people. There we go. So the keyword is hot air will rises, and hot air will be less dense. And if you study this, it actually applicable in your house system. Sometimes like my parents also don't like to close window, which I don't really understand why. I say must open a little bit, because there's 2 floor. The reason is, if you open the door little bit, not all everything. If you open all, there will be radiation from the street that coming hit to your house, so you feel your house. But at least you must open little bit, so that at least cold air can enter your house, and then it will rise up to the roof. That's why you see some house, on top they just put a small window, especially to the top part of your house, or some house, the center of the house is built high, but no people can live at there because it's so high. But there's a reason for it. There's a house that actually I want to, if I want to buy, I will choose that house because it is a natural natural ventilation, and it is cooler to stay in that house rather than the flat house that actually you got the center part of the house, there's no hole, no window up there. So that is then you buy the house, you feel very hot. You will see the difference actually, unless you turn on aircon, every day turn on the aircon. Okay, so some energy emit by the sun. So the sun emit a few energy. We are referring to a few things that ray that emit from the sun. One is ultraviolet, infrared, the light, and one more is what one more one more I remember at least got four. So there's infrared. Okay, we're talking about infrared. Okay, so the question want to talk about infrared travel at the speed of light. So this four ray travel the light, the UV light. I think one more is gamma ray. Gamma ray, infrared, all travel in the speed of light, which is 300,000 kilometers per second. Will reach the Earth around 8.33 minutes. 6 minutes. I read some books 6 minutes, some books 8.33 minutes, but roughly that roughly around that. So how you know that 8 minutes from the sun to reach the Earth? So one thing is you need to do time equals to distance by speed, and then you you get you use the space already, you get the time, which is 8.33 minutes. What is happening at the sun after 8 minutes only? It reaches the Earth due to a very long distance. Let's say even if the sun explodes now, you never know because there's no way you can see it, because you need to wait after 8.33 minutes, then suddenly you see your sun disappear. But when you see your sun disappear, actually it disappeared from 8.33 minutes ago. There's that is the sun. And you are talking about other star, it could be a few years ago. If you see some star, the star is very beautiful, but the light that you are seeing now is actually, it could be 10 years ago light, and you and maybe now the sun already disappeared, you never know. The shortest infrared length of the sun is, so we are talking about the wavelength. Depend on the wavelength. Ultraviolet got different wavelength, infrared got different wavelength, gamma ray got different wavelength. Depending on what wavelength, that light also got different wavelength, color of light also different wavelength. So that is why it's different color. If all the same, then you got the same color. It's different color because it has different wavelength. So calculate the frequency, the formula, blah blah blah, V equals to F lambda. You do. The student only get 1 mark. Why the student only get 1 mark? So the answer is 4.05 times 10 power of 14. So because the student didn't write times 10 power of 14, so the answer is deemed wrong and the formula is correct. So the student only get 1 mark. So be careful if you didn't notice, then it didn't happen. Step 1, use of infrared. Infrared, one of the use of infrared usually we can use as the most common thing is remote control something that is always in our house nowadays is remote control, because we call it infrared remote control. If you know the word, sometimes when I want to go to shop and to buy remote, I want to buy infrared remote. Last time handphone got infrared, I still remember I got a Xiaomi phone, old model, so I can use my phone to turn on the TV or turn on the aircon or turn on the whatever thing that has infrared. I can adjust the frequency of my phone, then I can turn on the TV or the aircon. But one thing is nowadays the infrared remote is getting lesser. Okay, the infrared is getting lesser remote because nowadays usually people control their TV or while using Wi-Fi connection. So one day the infrared remote is going to disappear because there is no need for this one. We prefer to use Wi-Fi, one device of using Wi-Fi to control everything. So it's more and more scarce. Now TV also is getting uh, lesser. They're using Wi-Fi lah, but of course still got lah. I'm still using remote, infrared remote in my house. Okay, and yeah, a few more motion detector, intruder alarm, heat lamp, a few more thing, anything lah. But obviously microwave is different wave, so that's why it's not infrared because if you look at the picture in your book, which I show many times, microwave is at another side of the column. Not infrared is in the front, microwave is the back, so it's totally different direction. Of course, gamma ray is more front, gamma ray more front. Do you remember, the picture I'm talking about? Okay, if you don't know, you can go Google to search. I think you search you search electromagnetic wave, then you can see the different type of wave. Okay, figure 7 show a plant responding to a light. Only one answer for this marking scheme is phototropism. Either you get it or you don't get it. Okay, name the plant response: phototropism, chemotropism, hydrotropism. Because this is phototropism because it's photo photo means the light. Tropism, I think it means, okay, so phototropism means respond. Okay, respond. So photo respond. So we have positive phototropism or negative phototropism, depend on the question. If the question asks, obviously this is a positive phototropism because it's moving towards the source of the light. Explain in detail why plant bends towards the light. Actually, I think this one does do very good. First thing, because oxygen will accumulate at dark spot, so it will cause elongation. Means that in the dark spot there is oxygen. Oxygen actually is a hormone for the plant to grow. If there is more oxygen, more growth of the plant. So since the darker spot, it will produce more oxygen, so it will produce elongation. Because there is no light here, so there's more oxygen, so it will grow towards the light source. There's the marking scale say elongation, but the student say grow faster, so can it's still acceptable. Grow faster, elongation. One is become longer, one is all growing faster. It is still the same thing. And one more part is actually oxygen is at the top of the tip of the plant, so that the plant will still grow due to the tip of the plant, but the student didn't say, so the on the student get 2 marks. Hormone also present animal. Get example when the adrenaline increase. So looking down from very top building, I still give correct. Okay, usually the answer that I read from book, usually it will, or the marking scheme here say fight or flee or fight or flight. Fight or flight. Sometimes I read book flight or fight or flee. It depends on sometimes I also don't know but the marking scheme flight, then some book I read is fight or flee. Then up to you lah. Usually from what I read from book is like being chased by dog, to fight a person or what. Usually the example I use is, I read from book is being chased by dog lah. But looking down from a very tall building also, it is I put BOD lah, benefit of doubt, because some people, I think the sir understand the heartbeat faster due to adrenaline, but I don't know whether this is a good example or not, because sometimes I live at 8th floor and I looking down from my tall building, I'm not feeling scared also, and not some people. All people are scared of tall building, some are not. But I think the better example will be being chased by dog, because you say the person being chased by dog means you need to run. You need to run means you have adrenaline, unless even you run for fun, also your adrenaline will increase. This is what sometimes I do. I'm cycling, then I like to disturb the dog, then the dog will chase me, then I will cycle lah. That is more fun, more fun being chased by dog. But far I'm not scared of the dog. I have been bitten by dog, but I'm not scared of the dog. I like to tease the dog and cat, and This is what I do when I cycling around my house. The word equation for respiration is shown. Glucose plus oxygen, you get carbon dioxide plus water. Increase. I need to read the question. What is the question talking about? To affect adrenaline. To affect of adrenaline able the cell body to increase respiration. Yeah. So what is it? Is it increase the oxygen in the body, because you need to breathe faster, there's more oxygen, and then it will produce also more oxygen to the blood because you breathe faster, heart pump faster. So eventually you got more oxygen in your body, which actually make you able to think faster also, think faster during fight or flee situation, and also to generate more energy to do things that a person should do. State 2, way which energy is released by respiration. The answer will be muscle contraction or growth. Question number 8 is 19. Your solution Q for chromatography. I'm not going to read this. You can read by yourself. State which metal ion are present in solution Q. And I can't believe the student get this wrong, because in Q, of course, it's copper ion. Is it copper ion? In Q, let's see. It is actually nickel and copper ion. Yeah, correct or not? Because it's this line. Well, your solution Q, solution Q is at here. So of course, this one is copper and the bottom one is nickel. So the student didn't put nickel. Yeah, you need to put 2, then only you got 1 mark. But because you put 1, then you didn't get any mark. A few wasted. Wasted. Calculate the value of RF. The answer is 0.6. Distance of dot to the start line, RF value. Distance from the dot to the start line for CU. Let's talk about CU. So 7 minus 2. So the first one will be 7 minus 2 divided by distance of solvent to start line, 10 minus 2. So you try to do this, what you get? So you will get 0.625. This one is just follow lah. But the formula is correct. The formula is correct, but the working is wrong. Maybe the student get 1 mark, but never mind lah. Since I already put wrong, then just put wrong lah. I think the student will get 1 mark for the correct formula. If 3 mark is easier lah, formula, working and answer, but this is 2 mark. Okay, very fast. Name the collection of metal, transition element, correct. And I think I teach until here lah. I continue next time.
Okay.
Okay, so I see you again.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.